compared to a person who's sitting on a bus, and the person believes that the driver knows where he's going. He believes that the driver knows where he's going, and that the driver knows how to drive a bus. So I'm the passenger. I believe the driver knows how to drive the bus, and I believe that he knows how to get to the intended destination. So what happens? The ride is relaxing. I look out the window and just look at all the passing scenery. And I benefit from every moment. Let's say here, so if I believe that the driver knows how to drive the bus and knows ultimately again where he's going, I can sit back, relax, enjoy the ride, take in the scenery. Lumasa, on the other hand, a person who lacks emunah, doma l'nosea atzbani shechoshev shehu hanahag. What happens? On the other hand, someone who doesn't have emunah. So we'll say, so he compares a person who has emunah is like the person on the bus. Excuse me. It's like the person on the bus who believes that the driver knows how to drive and knows where he's going. So of course, again, the nimshal is that if I'm on the bus of life, if I have emunah, I believe that Ribono Shalom, the driver, he knows how to drive, and he knows exactly where we're supposed to be going. On the other hand, a person who doesn't have emunah, doma l'nosea atzbani, is compared to a very uptight, difficult, annoying passenger. Shechoshev shehu hanahag. He thinks that he's the driver. Become choshev shehu yodea es haderech, and he thinks ultimately that he knows the path. Backseat driver. He tries to drive the bus from the seat where he's sitting. Who calls man mistakel umemurmar she'anahag noseg lekivun shurotze. All the time he's looking, but not taking in the scenery. He's saying, why is the driver taking this path? Why is he going this way? V'gam hu mud'ag umutrat mitzuras hanehiga. And he's very unhappy about how the driver drives. Pam hu mismarmer shazu. Mahar midai upam shezela at midai. Sometimes he complains that the driver is going too fast. Sometimes the driver is going too slow. Kana nahag nichnas lesibo bifros v'chana autobus kafats. Sometimes again he's taking the turns too quickly. Sometimes again he's lurching forward. Va'emes shu bichlal ino yodea la'an hu nosea ve'eno yodea klum mechayev. At the end of the day, however, what does everyone think of the backseat driver, right? What does everyone think about the guy who tries to tell the bus driver how to do his job? He has absolutely no idea what he's talking about. He doesn't know how to drive a bus, and he doesn't even know sometimes how to get to the intended destination. We'll say it's a very profound mashal. Everything in life is about trusting the driver. If you don't trust the driver, the journey becomes very unpleasant. The driver is the Ribono Shalom. The bus, of course, is the journey of life. And there are two ways that you could approach the journey of life. A person could go ahead and try to be the backseat driver, right? And try to say, Ribono Shalom, my life needs to be like this, needs to be like that, needs to go in this direction, that direction. And again, you're going to be upset because rarely does the bus follow the route that you intended to follow. Often there are detours, often there are obstacles, often there are things that cause the bus to go in all different kinds of directions. So if you're the backseat driver, not believing in the bus, not believing in the driver and his ability to get you to the destination, then life is terribly frustrating. On the other hand, if you believe in the driver and you believe that he and only he has the ability to direct the bus ultimately to its intended destination, then what you do is you sit back, you relax, you enjoy the ride, you take in the scenery, recognizing that each and every part of this journey is an absolute necessity to get you to your end destination. It's an incredible mashal. Let's get ready for this. As long as a person thinks that he is the one who directs the full journey of his life, this is a fascinating tension that exists within Yiddishkeit. On one hand, again, I have to assume responsibility for the direction of my life. And I have to own my existence. On the flip side, I also have to understand that I don't often determine the trajectory of my existence, that there are events that occur, there are realities that occur that are driven by the Ribono Shel Olam. So it's this very fine combination. So the Mechaber says, if a person thinks that he's driving the bus, if at the end of the day, you think that you're the one who is kover the maslul, who establishes the pathway of life, then a person is unable to go to be mevatel his ratzon, negate his will before HaKadosh Baruch Hu. He's going to be unable to kabal the avos malachai. He will be unable to find happiness in the circumstances of life, because it will say more often than not, the circumstances of life do not go according to your plan. So if you think you're the driver, if you think you're the one ultimately who's directing the bus, that life becomes a very frustrating experience. Frustrating, by the way, with yourself, frustrating with others, frustrating with life. But if a person realizes that, you know what, sometimes I have to recognize the Ribono Shel Olam is the driver, and therefore I have to figure out how to be makabel bi'ava, how to accept with love. Taking life becomes dramatically different. B'chol pam shelo mistadrim lo hadvarim kirtzono hu misatzbein lo deif es atzmo misya'ish nishvar v'chadoma. It will say, if I think that I'm driving the bus, I think that I'm in charge, I think that I determine the direction and trajectory, then what happens? When things do not go according to my will, I get upset, I blame myself, I give up hope, and I'm broken. Ubichlal, he says, Anosh yeshtam anoshim rabim shepashat inam muchanim mekabalas ha'uvda sheba'olam hazeh chayavim la'avor tikunim. See, I will say, and this is a very profound statement. He says, Pashat, there are people in this world who are unwilling to accept the fact that life is not a straight and comfortable linear journey. Rather, again, chayav la'avar tikunim. I will say, sometimes in life you have to go through a variety of different life circumstances, because it is those circumstances that are metake us. It is those circumstances ultimately, again, that go ahead and somehow fix us, refine us. And again, all these people do is they cry and they lament about the reality of their circumstances. And ultimately, again, all of the circumstances of this world, they can't accept. They cannot accept it, I'll say. So again, by the way, I think the bus mashal is, I think, one of the best mashalim that you will ever come across in life. Right? Life is that bus ride. So the shaila is, are you the backseat driver who thinks you know better than the driver? Okay, just if you do that, just know the ride is Gehenna. The ride is Gehenna. Because every single second you're wondering, why this way, why that way, why are you going this direction? Why is it taking so long? Why is it taking so short? So again, if that's how you live life, then at the end of the day, life is a Gehenna. On the other hand, the person accepts the fact that I don't drive it. Say, what do I choose? I choose which bus to get on. It's a very important episode, right? I have to choose the line. Because I have to choose the destination. Obviously, you don't show up at the train station and say, let me just pick a number between 1 and 20, I'll go on that one. Right? If you go on that, you don't get it. I have to choose, where am I going? Where am I going in life? And I have to get on the bus towards that destination. That's my job. But then I have to recognize that I'm going to have to put in my effort to get to that destination. But I choose the bus, I make the choices, I create the destination, but I don't always drive the bus. Sometimes it is my job to figure out how to be makabel ba'ava that journey. Recognizing that journey is going to go on a variety of different, sometimes very circuitous and bumpy paths, and it is my job ultimately, again, to be makabel ba'ava the nature of the journey. He goes on, Zumatzirshi efshar le'ischamek mimena. This is a metzias. This is a reality that one cannot hide from. Because life rarely follows the path that you want. It will say there are very often unintended realities and things changes that one could not have foreseen. We'll say, so this is an incredible use. I'm going to stop over here for today because I'm going to pick up with this tomorrow. The Chaber I was getting that tomorrow, but Monday, I was getting into it, so it's going to be a very important discussion, which is that I understand ultimately, again, let's say I get to the level where I'm able to accept the fact that the button ride is not always as straight and as fast and as comfortable as I thought it was going to be. The question is why? Okay, so let's say, remember, first step is acceptance that the Ribono Shel Olam is the driver, and step number 2 is that he what? He knows how to drive. Because it's a very, very, very important yesod, right? Because a lot of people accept the fact that God is the driver, but come on, Ribono Shel Olam, I'm happy to give you a couple of pointers. Maybe it's time for a little bit of like your yearly review. Let me give you a little bit of feedback about how you're running the world and how you're running my life, because I have some constructive ideas that I think I'd like to give you. So as I said, at the end of the day, I have Tluy Chosh Baruch Hu, who's the driver and he knows how to drive. The Shaila is then, not the Shaila, the next step is being Mekabel Bi'ava, the twists and turns and bumps. The question then comes up is, but why do I have those twists and turns and bumps? Why? Why sometimes do I go on the detour? I chose the bus, I chose the destination. Why are you taking me on that detour? That Emir Tzavos we will continue with Emir Hashem on Monday. Shkoyach. Thank you, Mazel Tov. Mazel Tov. Thank you so much. All right, Javos, say good morning. Let's begin. So today's daf is Kuf Nun Tes 159. We are picking up Kuf Nun Ches Amud Beis 158b by the 2 dots, 6 lines up from the bottom. So we dedicate our shir this morning for David Meir Ben Bluma, who's undergoing a procedure this morning, as well as he had a complete and enduring refuah. We wish him Mazel Tov to Greg Levitan Baruch Hashem here on the morning after his daughter's chasana. That's Daf Yomi dedication. Continue nachas from the Chassan and Kala. All right, so let's begin. Rabbi Smaloi. I'm sorry. So let me read that. So Rabbi Smaloi said the following. So Ada Amra ben Azai. So the Gemara says, remember, the Gemara is going back for just a moment to the Mishnah. The Mishnah discussed a machlokes between Rabbi Akiva, or I should say Tanakama and Rabbi Akiva, about the case of the house that fell down on the son and the mother together. So the Tanakama paskin, everyone agrees Yachloku. Rabbi Akiva said, no, that even in this case, we leave the property bechaskasa, in the proper chazaka. So Ben Azai then came along and said to Rabbi Akiva, he said, Amrlo Ben Azai, al chalukin al mitztaran al shabas al chalik alinu at hashavin. So Ben Azai said to Rabbi Akiva, why are you creating machlokes? We have enough machlokes as it is. In other words, there's enough disagreements. Finally, we came to a point where everybody seemed to agree. Why can't you just leave it alone? So the Gemara just makes an interesting observation. Amra Mismaloi, Ada, Amra ben. So Rashi says Ada means Hada. That which Amra ben Azai said. You see from here that what Talmud Chav Rabbi Akiva Haba. You see that Ben Azai Rabbi wasn't just only a Talmud, but was what we call a Talmud Chaver. A Talmud Chaver means someone who began as a disciple, but ultimately again rises through the ranks to really become a peer. This individual became a peer. So the Gemara says, Shebasa, because again he spoke to Rabbi Akiva Rabosai in a first person. You have come. So the fact that he said you as opposed to speaking to his Rebbe in the third person or in some type of deferential term. So he spoke to him more as like a friend, like a direct conversation. So you see from here that Ben Azai enjoyed a Talmud Chaver relationship with Rabbi Akiva. Okay, Shalchim Mitam. So we'll say they sent him the following case. Shalchim Mitam. So this will say just an unrelated case. Ben Shalama Benichse Aviv, Bechaye Aviv Umeis. Now I'm going to read it, and then we're going to have to figure out a way to define this case. So a son who went ahead and borrowed. Now, both say it sounds like Shalava benichse aviv. He borrowed against his father's property. while his father was alive. So he borrowed money with the expectation that he would have a Yerusha. And then what happens? Umes, and then and then he died. Now we'll say, now the he that died seems to be the borrower, right? The borrower died. So beno motzi miyad al kuchos. So ultimately, again, his son has the ability to go ahead and extract property from anyone who purchased it. V'zogi shakasha b'dinei mamanis. And this is a case that is difficult to comprehend in monetary law. So the Gemara says, what are you talking about? So the Gemara says, Lava, my mapik. I don't understand. If he borrowed against property, then what extraction is there? Furthermore, what lukuchos, what purchasers do we have? In other words, there doesn't seem to be a case of a transaction. There seems to be one case over here of a son who borrowed money against his Yerusha. He borrowed money against his Yerusha. So there's no sale, there's no extraction. So what are you talking about? It says the Gemara, here's how you have to define the case. So we'll say top of Kuf non test. Ben Shemachar b'nichse aviv b'chaye aviv. So here's the case. A son sold property. A son, we'll call it like this. We'll call the father Yaakov. Then what happens? So Yaakov has a son Ruvain, and Ruvain sells his father's property b'chaye aviv, right, in his father's lifetime. So we'll say, see here, this meaning, how would you categorize such a sale like that? He sold his father's property during his father's lifetime. Right, we call it illegal, right? Because remember, he doesn't have the right to sell that property. But again, he's not a bad guy. He's just eager. Eager for all the wrong things apparently, but he's eager, right? He's Zoris. Everybody has to be Zoris about something. This guy is Zoris about his Yerusha. So he goes ahead and he sells his father's property during his father's lifetime. Umes. So they'll say, then what happens? So then the father dies, but then everybody dies. In other words, Yaakov dies. Now remember, the order over here is that Reuven the son dies, then subsequently Yaakov the father dies, and Reuven leaves behind his son. You know, the Rashbam always calls it the son Chanoch, just borrowing biblical family trees. So Chanoch, who's the son of Reuven, the grandson of Yaakov, is alive. So what does Chanoch do? So Beno Motzi Miyad al Kuchos. Chanoch has the right to go back to the purchasers and extract the property that his father sold. We'll say, why does Chanoch have the right to extract the properties? Why? Because it was an illegal sale. Meaning the sale itself was void because when Chanoch's father Reuven sold Yaakov's property, Yaakov was still alive. Reuven had really no right to sell that property. Therefore, Chanoch could go back and seize the property. And I want to say, the Gemara says this is just a difficult case in monetary law, meaning because again, I will say what you just have over here is a seemingly unrelated party, a grandson, going ahead and seizing property from people who thought they bought it legally. Yet, meaning the concept is not complicated. The concept seems to be clear, but the ramifications of it are difficult. So the Gemara says, so the Gemara says, why can't the purchasers say to Chanoch, to the son, I don't understand, your father sold it to us. What right do you have to extract it from us? Umay kushya, Dilma matzi amar, mikoach avuha de abba kasina. We'll say there's a very easy answer to that kasha. And Chanoch, the grandson, could say, I'm not coming out the koach of my father. I'm coming rather out the koach of who? Of my grandfather. In other words, I remember I will say the case over here is you have Yaakov, Reuven, Chanoch. So ultimately, again, Reuven's one who sold off the property while Yaakov was still alive. Illegal sale. Reuven dies, Yaakov dies, which essentially means now that Yaakov, that Chanoch is the inheritor not only of his father Reuven, but also of his grandfather Yaakov. So therefore, again, when Chanoch shows up, he says to the purchasers, I'm not coming here really out my father Reuven. I'm coming here out my grandfather. Because also remember, the order over here is Reuven died, Reuven the son died, was inherited by his father, and then Yaakov died. So ultimately, Chanoch is inheriting his grandfather. So he's coming, I'm coming here out my grandfather, not my father. Because I also remember a grandson does inherit a grandfather. Because the pasuk says, according over here, the pasuk from Tehillim, Tachas avosecha yihiyu banecha. Ultimately, again, under the fathers will be the sons. So the pasuk says, Tishisemo l'sarim b'chal haaretz. They'll become officers throughout the land. I will say, if you look at the Rashbam, Teda, It's right across the Rashbam Teda. The Chanoch ben Ruvain Yoresh es Yaakov. So we'll say, see that Chanoch ben Ruvain has the ability to go ahead and inherit Yaakov, his grandfather. Shalom Koach Ruvain. I will say what the Gemara is saying over here is that a grandson does have the ability to go ahead and inherit a grandfather. So the Gemara says, because the pasuk says, under the fathers will be your sons. So the Gemara says, Dahainu Yaakov yebanecha dahainu Chanoch midlo ksiv tachtecha yihiu banecha. So we'll say the Gemara is making an interesting drush over here. The pasuk could have said, Tachtecha yihiyu banecha. Underneath you would be your sons, which are both say the Gemara would be a reference to a father and his sons. Instead, it uses a more expansive lashon of Tachas avosecha yihiyu banecha. So the Gemara understands that avosecha and banecha over here doesn't just mean fathers and sons, but also means what? Grandfathers and grandsons. So the Gemara darshans over here that a grandson has the ability to inherit the grandfather. Therefore, in this case over here, the grandson is coming to claim property that was illegally sold by his father from the purchasers. So the Gemara says, Ela ikasha kashi. So right, if you want to have a complicated case, here's the complicated case. Ben Bechor, both say get ready for this. Ben Bechor shemachar chelik bechor bechayi aviv. So both say listen to this. We'll call him again Reuven, right? Yaakov's the father, Reuven's the Bechor. Reuven's going to get pishnayim. So what does Reuven do? Reuven proactively sells his pishnayim portion to someone else. Now, we'll say, so understand, so he gets double portions. He sells that portion. And let's say again, whatever the Metzias is, his father set aside particular land for the pishnayim, whatever it might be. He sells the pishnayim property while his father is still alive. Umeis, b'chayi aviv. Now what happens? Then the Bechor, Reuven, predeceases his father. So Reuven dies while Yaakov is still alive. And then what happens? We'll say subsequently Yaakov dies, but there's still a son by the name of Chanoch, right? The son of Reuven, grandson of Yaakov, who's still alive. Beno motzi miyad halakuchos. Ultimately, again, the son Chanoch has the ability to extract the property from the purchasers who purchased it from his father. V'zohi shekasha v'dinei malas. And I will say this is a difficult halacha in monetary law. So the Gemara says, I don't understand. Abu Amazbin. Ihu mafik, so the father sells and the son has the right to go ahead and extract it. But why is it so complicated? Let Chanoch show up and say, listen, I'm not really here representing my father. I'm really here representing who? My grandfather, meaning my father illegally sold my grandfather's property when he really didn't have the right to do so. I am now the Yoresh of my grandfather, and therefore, again, that's the property I'm claiming. To which the Gemara says, 1 second. I will say, here's the problem. If he's coming ultimately out his grandfather, then what? Then he has no rights in Pishnayim. In other words, remember, Chanoch, the grandson, is not the Bechor of Yaakov. And as such, again, if he's coming to extract Pishnayim property, that's not his right. He is not the Bechor. If he's coming to extract Pishnayim, Rabosai, then what? On whose behalf is he coming? On his father. To which the Gemara says, Umay Kosha, Dilma Matzi Amar, Mikoach Avua de Avakasina, Ubimkom Av Kamina. So the Gemara says, no, he could still say, Chanoch could still say, I'm coming on behalf of my grandfather, but I'm coming on behalf of my grandfather representing my father's interests. So in other words, which both says true, he's coming representing two sets of interests. As the son, ultimately, again, of Reuven. But remember, because Reuven now is dead, so the grandson, his son, Reuven's son, stands in his stead as well. So I'm coming here to reclaim my grandfather's property, but I'm also coming representing my deceased father's Pishnayim interest as well. Now, it says the Gemara, you're right. If there's going to be a complication, here is the complication. This is a very interesting case. So what happens? We'll call him Reuven. Reuven knew Eidos for someone. I will say now, Reuven, not only did Reuven know Eidos, but he served as an aid, as a witness on a transaction. And the transaction is recorded in a shtar. Take a look at the Rashbam. I'm sorry, let me read the rest of it first. So I'm supposed to listen to this case. Reuven served as a witness on a transaction. and Reuven ultimately signed as a witness in a shtar on a transaction. Then what happens? Then Reuven resorted to a life of crime, right? He becomes a thief, right? So what happens? I'm sorry. Right, he becomes a thief. I will say what happens, and what happens as well. I will say once you're a thief, you're pasal edus, right? Once you're a thief, you can no longer serve as a witness. So the Shaila will say, but however, again, remember his testimony in the shtar preceded his life of crime. Take a look at the Rashbam for just a moment. So Hayodela edus, we'll say it's about 10 lines up from before the lines get wide. Hayodela edus. Reuven l'Shimon ad shlo naaseh Reuven gazlan vayashmo chasum b'shtar behava asol shel Shimon. So we'll say, so Reuven had signed the loan document on behalf of Shimon before Reuven became a thief. Now Reuven became a thief. And what happens? Va'achar kach naaseh gazlan. Look at the Rashbam. We'll say in front of Rashbam. V'nifsal le'idus. A thief is not permitted to serve as a witness. Kitchsiv lo sashes yadchem rasha lios eid chamos. Va'apa pi shene'eman adam lomar zek sav yadi ki disnam b'ksulis. Me'ata inomei v'aksav yado, sharikol dumav anu machzikin sheker, mishena'ase gazlan, v'shema idach pasubos. Listen to this. Once you become a gazlan, we don't believe you. We don't even believe you to say what Rabbi saying, that's my signature. Once you are a thief, you have lost all credibility, even the simple credibility to identify that's my signature. So I'll say, so what do you do in this case? Watch this. So the Gemara says, so we'll say ultimately again, Reuven can't testify and say, that's my signature. He can't uphold his signature, but someone else can go ahead and uphold his signature. In other words, we'll say, his eidos, as long as corroborated by someone other than him, will be a kosher eidos in the shtar. Why? Why? Because it took place when? Prior to his going to a life of crime. But he can't uphold his own signature because he has no me'amanas. So the Gemara says, Hashta, iyolo mehemen, achreini mehemen. So ultimately it says, does that make sense? A person is not going to be believed to say, this is my own signature, but yet someone else is believed to say it's his signature as well. Say it's just a strange dynamic. And this is something difficult to comprehend. Gemara says, I don't understand the micro. What's the difficulty? Well, remember we're talking about a case where his signature was already upheld in Beis Din. As well, so we've learned about this before. If you look at the Rashbam, look in the wide lines, 5 lines in the wide lines. King on Shochsuk, Behenpik, Beis Din, Beterem Heyosov Gazlan, the Hashta Leka Lemeimar Hach. So also listen to this. Remember, there's something called the Henpik. A Henpik, I will say, was essentially a document in which Beis Din would go ahead and certify a shtar or certify signatures. I don't know. There must be some modern day equivalent. I'm sorry. Oh, notary. I guess I can write. It was notarized. Meaning, it's at the end of the day, what's happening over here is his signature has already been authenticated. It's just that we need someone to produce the shtar that says it's been authenticated. So the Gemara says, just you should know, bless you, that case happens to be, you should know, halacha l'maisa, which I will say you should know, I think, not a topic for today, but there happens to be a lot of very deep hashkafa in this case as well. Because what is this an example of? This is an example of a person who at one point in time was a kosher and then becomes pasul. And the fundamental shaila is when you see someone do something terrible and now they're relegated to a different status, how does that reflect on their previous work? So you see this sometimes in cases of leaders, right? Of leaders who do bad things, and then the shaila comes up is, okay, they did this bad thing. I know what their status is going forward, but what about the work of their past? What about the work of their past? And these are unfortunately real situations that we contend with, but also just even on a personal hashkafic level. Like let's say I have a failure. I fail. I suffer a real personal failure. So what does that mean about the good things that I've done until now? Does that mean they were meaningless because now I've fallen in this hole, I've fallen in this abyss? I will say it's something we all contend with. I mean, sure. If you're not contending with it, it's not because you didn't sin. Trust me, right? But it's because you're not thinking about it, right? But l'maisa, again, at the end of the day, this is a fundamental. This is the Gemara's case. I was a kosher. I signed on the shtar. I became a gazlan. So what about those past events? Are they good or are they not good? So there's good news. What's the good news? How do we paskin? We paskin that ultimately, again, your signature on the shtar before you became a Gazlan is kosher. Is kosher. Because what does it tell you? That even when you fail in life, even if I fail miserably, it doesn't negate the good that I've done. It doesn't. The good that I've done is there. It's mine. It's secure. It's my accomplishment. I have to figure out how to get out of this hole. I have to figure out how to rehabilitate myself. I have to figure out now how to get back up. But the good that I've done is still intact. Incredible yisod. Elai kasha kasha. Brother says the Gemara. Here's the question. So listen to this. I wrote down eidos. I was an aid in the shtar. I was an aid in the transaction. Ad shelo tipo lo birusha. Who eno yochol. So the Gemara says, what happened? Then it turned out that what? So it turned out that I was made on property that at the time that I was made on, the time that I gave the testimony, I had nothing to do with this property. Nothing to do with it. We'll say, then what happens? It turns out that as time went on, I'm actually going to inherit this property. Whatever the Metzias is. We'll say, so now I can't uphold my own signature in this document. Why? Why? Because I'm no Ge'ez. I have a vested interest in this. So the Gemara says, so I can't uphold my own testimony. I will say others can uphold my testimony. So the Gemara says, my kushya, what's difficult about this? Maybe this is a case of Osei where ultimately, again, my signature was upheld by a handpick and based in other words, so I don't need testimony, I just need someone to find a piece of paper that my signature was certified. Brother says, right, here's the kasha. Also, we're just trying to figure out the price advanced the fact that there was a case that came up in monetary law that was difficult to understand. We're just trying to understand what's that case that was difficult to understand. So listen to this case. I knew eidos about someone before I became their son-in-law. Right? In other words, I wrote down eidos for Ruvain. Then it turns out that what? Over time, what happens? I will say, I married Ruvain's daughter. So again, obviously at the time that I signed on the shtar, meaning I didn't even get her resume yet, let alone anything. But now ultimately again, I'm the son-in-law to the person on who I was made. So what's the halacha? So obviously I can't uphold my signature because I'm an ogea bedavar, right? I have a vested interest in this eidos. But ultimately, again, others are permitted to uphold my signature. So the Gemara says, there's always a strange dynamic where I'm not going to be believed about my signature, but others are believed about my signature. What a strange thing. Maybe you'll say over here that this is a case of, again, where my signature was upheld by a handpick in Beis Din. No, this is talking about even in a case where what? Where my signature was not held up at Beis Din. So we'll say, this is mamash a case where what? Where people are coming to be made on my signature. So you're going to tell me there's a case over here where I can't testify about my own signature, but others will be believed to testify about my signature. My question, what's the kasha? Let's listen to this. So we'll say, here's what's interesting. What's interesting is the following. See, we'll say, we assume that why am I not believed to go ahead and testify about my signature in a shtar that now involves my father-in-law? Why am I not believed? And therefore what? The assumption is that what? I may lie. But say that's always the underlying issue over here. The underlying issue is that I'm a witness to a transaction that has an impact on someone who is close to me. And therefore the concern is I may lie. So the Gemara says, it's interesting. If that's the case, that I may lie, so I don't understand. If that's the case, it's a strange dynamic that I can't uphold my own signature. In other words, I'm not even being made on the content. Rather, I'm just being made on the signature. So I don't understand why. So the Gemara says, well, maybe the issue over here is not about lying. Maybe the Gemara says, maybe, again, it's just the Gzeres Melech. It's just Gzeres HaKasah. The Rebbe Shalom says, the Rebbe Shalom said, listen, here's the deal. You can't testify, someone else can't testify. And it's not an issue of lying. We'll say why. Because if you don't say this, Moshe v'ar lechaslam mishum lo mehemnin. So we'll say, let's say again, the Gemara gives an exaggerated example. Let's say Moshe Aaron. Let's say Moshe Rabbeinu signed on a shtar. right? And it was a loan document for a man named Yisro. And then what happens? At the time of the collection of the debt, Moshe Rabbeinu is married to Tzipora, and therefore Yisro is his father-in-law. We'll say, is Moshe Rabbeinu permitted to testify about his signature? And the answer is no. Is it because we're afraid that Moshe Rabbeinu is going to lie? Pashtus not. So the Gemara says, Ella, Mishum Dol Mehemni, Moshe and Aaron. If this, halacha applies to Moshe and Aaron as well. And we're not really concerned if they're going to lie. Ella Gzeres Melech Ushlo Ya'idu Lahem. Rather, we'll say you have to say that it's Gzeres Melech. Gzeres Melech means Gzeres Akasav. Hachanam Gzeres Melechu Shalo Ya'id Aksav Yadol Chosno. So we'll say it could very well be that this is not a din in Ne'emanos. It's just Gzeres Akasav in the realm of Eidos. Ella Li Olam Kedarmina Meikara. Rather, says the Gemara, ultimately, again, the complicated case is the case that we said initially, Rabosai, which is the case, ultimately, again, of the son who went ahead and sold off his father's property while his father was alive. This was the case, Rabosai, of Reuven, who sold off Yaakov's property during his lifetime. Reuven dies, Yaakov dies, and then Chanoch, the son, wants to take it back from the purchasers. So the Gemara says, the Kashilacha, Tachas Avosecha Yubanecha. We'll say, remember again, and the Chiddush then was the fact that what? That a grandson inherits a grandfather, and a grandson could essentially come and make the claim on behalf of the grandfather. And it was all based on that pasuk in Tehillim that said, Tachas avosecha yihiyu banecha. Underneath the fathers will be the sons, which we understood to be a reference ultimately again to grandchildren. So Gemara says, well, maybe you'll say that pasuk, Rabbi will say, is not coming to teach you a halacha, or is that pasuk is not coming to teach you that a grandson inherits the legal rights of the grandfather. Rather, I could just as easily say that what's the nature of that pasuk? I will say that's a bracha. Meaning, again, David HaMelech in Tehillim is writing about a blessing. He's saying, Tachas avosecha yu banecha, that ultimately, again, you will be zocha if you follow in the ways of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. The tzaddikim, ultimately, again, we'll see their sons, we'll see their grandsons, ultimately spread out throughout the land. Omi matis amris bebracha ksif. Says the Gemara, can you say that that pasuk is just talking about a bracha and not the halacha? On the base, aval le'inyan dina lo, but are you going to tell me that it doesn't apply legabi the halacha? So the Gemara says, "V'atanya we learned nafal habayis alav va'al aviv." The Gemara says nafal habayis alav va'al aviv, alav va'al morishav. So let's listen to this. Going back to Mishnayos, if the house falls on a man and on his father, or alav va'al morishav, or on him and someone else who would inherit him, or he would inherit, v'haisa alav ksuvas isho balcho. And I will say, ultimately, again, there is upon this individual, the son, right, the obligation for a ksuva, or the obligation that he has for other debts. What's the halacha? So the Gemara says, Yarsha'av omrim meis haben rishon v'achar kach meisav. So the inheritors of the father say, the son died first, and then the father died. Ubal kol vomer ha'av meis rishon v'achar kach meisabein. There was, of course, the creditor says that what? That the father died first and then the son, because the creditor, I will say, the creditor, whether it's the Balchov or the Ksuvas Isha, has an interest in what? The son ending off with the father's assets, and therefore, again, Halacha L'maisa, they claim that the father died first. So the Gemara says, my love. So we'll say, who are these people? When we speak about Yorshei Ha'av and Morishav, my love, Yorshei Ha'av B'ni. So we'll say, do we not mean that the Yorshei Ha'av, the inheritors of the father, will say actually refer to the grandchildren? Because remember, again, this is a case of where the father and son, Yaakov and Reuven, were in the house together. The house collapsed and they both died. So we'll say, who are Yorshei Ha'av? Yorshei Ha'av, perhaps, are the grandchildren, are the children ultimately, again, of Reuven, who are the grandchildren ultimately of Yaakov. Morishav, who are the Morishav? We'll say, Achi, they're the brothers. V'isakadaitcha lo matzi armin koach abuha. So I say, if you want to say that grandchildren don't have a legal right to claim on behalf of their grandfather, because that pasuk in Tachas Avosecha is not teaching you a halachic precedent, rather it's just giving a nice bracha to tzaddikim. So the Gemara says, Ki mei sabein, v'achar kach mei sa'av, mai havi. We'll say if indeed the son died first, right? Reuven died first, and then Yaakov died. What rights would Reuven's children have? In other words, if you don't say that grandchildren inherit the grandfather, then the potential case of where Reuven, the son, dies before his father Yaakov, then I will say, what claim would Reuven's children have? So the Gemara says, Ne'emalu Balchov. So let the Balchov say to the grandchildren, the sons of Reuben, the grandchildren of Yaakov, Yerushas Avon Kashakilna. Ultimately, again, we are taking the Yerusha, ultimately, of your father. So the Gemara says, Lo. So we'll say, so the Gemara is pointing out over here, it has to be that Tachas Avosecha is not just a bracha, but rather what? Creates a halachic reality, namely that grandchildren have the ability to inherit their grandfather in the absence of the father. To which the Gemara says, Lo, Yorshei Av Achiv, there could be that Yorshei Av, those who inherit the father are the brothers, Morishav Achi Davua. They can be ultimately, again, the brothers of the father. Okay, so the Gemara says you could interpret it differently as well. Bo Mine, well, says the Gemara now asks another kasha. Bo Mine Merav Sheshas. Ben Mahu Shiyara Shasima Bakem. So we'll say, just so you know, the way we paskin, halacha, the Maisa, just closing out that sugya, is that a grandson does have the ability to inherit his grandfather. That ultimately, again, when the father dies, so what I should say in this case, where you have Yaakov, Ruvain, Chanoch, 3 generations. So Chanoch, so let's say if Ruvain dies, obviously in a regular situation where Yaakov dies, then Reuven inherits him. Reuven dies, then Chanoch inherits him. In a more complicated case, where let's say Reuven predeceases his father and leaves behind the father and the son. So ultimately, again, then when Yaakov the grandfather dies, so in that case, we'll say, so Chanoch the grandson will inherit his grandfather because ultimately he stands in the place of his deceased father Reuven. That is indeed halacha l'maisa. Next case, Ben Maush Yershes Imo Bekever. We'll say, so the following shasha of Rav Sheshes. Does a son have the ability to inherit his mother from the grave? We'll say, now what's the case over here? The case over here is where a mother, we will call her Rachel. Rachel has an only son. We'll call him Yosef. What happens? We'll say, so Yosef stands to inherit his mother. Then what happens? Yosef predeceases his mother. Yosef predeceases his mother. So we'll say the shaila is an interesting formulation. Does a son have the ability to inherit his mother from the grave? What that means, we'll say, is the following. So Yosef predeceases Rachel. When Rachel now dies, do we say that Yosef inherits his mother? Now, Yosef's dead, but the inheritance goes through Yosef. Now remember, Yosef dies without children. So who would Yosef's inheritance go to, Rabbi Osai? Well, in this case, Yosef has paternal brothers because his father Yaakov, right, also married another woman by the name of Leah, and he has paternal brothers from his father. So the shaila is, when Rachel now dies and Yosef has already passed away, do we say that the Yerusha nevertheless goes to Yosef, but because Yosef is dead and he doesn't have children himself, he doesn't retain it? But what does he do? He funnels it to his paternal brothers, or do we say that the Yerusha simply goes to Rachel's family? That's the fundamental shaila. Amar Sheshes Tinisua. So Sheshes says, we learn this. Ha'av shenishpa. We'll say if a father was taken captive and died in captivity in some faraway land, and the son dies here in the city, or uben nishpa shenishpa, or the son was taken captive and dies in captivity, and the father dies here. So we'll say the issue over here is both father and son have died. What's the complicating issue? The complicating issue is we do not know who died first. We don't know who died first. That's the issue. So the Gemara says, Yarsheh. So the Gemara says, fine. Yarsheh ben Yachloku. So ultimately, again, the inheritors of the father, the inheritors of the son have to go ahead and split the assets. So Heichidon will say, what's the case? Ilema kidiktani. If you want to say it's as stated, so Heinin hu Yarsheh Avein, hu Yarsheh Avein. So I'll say, who are the Yarsheh Avein? Who are these people? And in other words, the Gemara says, not really who are these people, but aren't they the same people? In other words, aren't we talking about the same group of Yarshim? This is what it means to say. Av shenishpa umeis. So the Gemara says, Av shenishpa umeis ben bita b'medina. So we'll say, listen to this. Ultimately, if a father was taken captive and died in captivity, and also I will say ben bito, he has a son of his daughter who also died. I will say in the Medina. Medina just means inhabitation. So the Gemara says, or uben bito shenishpa, right? Umeis aviv aviim b'medina. So we'll say, so in this case over here, you have the father, ultimately again, and a grandson. And both of them are dying, and both of them died. We don't know who died first. Yarshe Avi Yarshe Ben Yachloku. Ultimately, again, the inheritors of the father and the inheritors of the son split the estate. Vim Isa. Nihinami de Ben Meis Beresha. Liyarse la'avua di'ime b'kivrei. Or liyarsina la'achoha min avua. So we'll say, but nevertheless, if we say that a son inherits his mother from the kever, then what are we saying? So go ahead, let him inherit first, and then go ahead and let him pass that inheritance on to his brothers, his paternal brothers. Rather, what do you see from this case? You see from this case that a son does not inherit his mother from the grave. In other words, we'll say, which is another way of saying that once someone dies, you are out of the inheritance running. So I say, you understand the Havamina? The Havamina was that perhaps a son inherits his mother even when he's already dead, even when he predeceases her. That way, when she dies, the inheritance goes to him. Obviously, can't stay with him, but once it goes to him, it's then funneled to his paternal brothers. Kamash Malan, that once a person dies, they are out of the inheritance flow chart. They no longer inherit anything. We also learned this. If the home fell on him and on his mother, everyone agrees that what? That the inheritors of the mother, the inheritors of the son, split the estate. V'im Isa, and if it was true that a son could inherit his mother from the grave, in other words, both said his son is dead, that even if he's dead, he can inherit his mother. Nihinami de ben meis beresha, liyarse li'ima b'kirei, v'liyarsun lach yamei avua. Then both say even if the son died first, let the son inherit the mother from the grave and pass that inheritance on to his paternal brothers. Elo lav shmamina ein haben yored shesimo b'kever lahancha la'achem min ha'av shmamina. Rather, I will say, what do you see from here? You see from here that a son does not have the ability to inherit his mother from the grave. So I will say, so Allah Lamaisa, once the son dies, he's out of the inheritance. He's out of the inheritance running. Therefore, again, when the mother dies, if she dies without any children, then what? Who does the property go to? And again, obviously, there's no husband in this. Husband also predeceased her. Lamaisa, again, the property will ultimately go to her mishpacha. The time amai. So the Gemara says, what is the reason for this? Amar Abaye, Ne'emra Siba Beben, V'Ne'emra Siba Bebal. So both say the Torah in Yerusha uses the lashon of Siba of Lotisov. In other words, lashon of sorry to translate this. Moving or right movement. Transfer. Thank you. Transfer. It says lashon of transfer to a son and a lashon of transfer by Yerusha to a husband. So it's just like he used the lashon of siba of transfer property to a husband, and just like a husband can't inherit his wife from the grave. In other words, once a husband is dead, he can no longer inherit his wife. So to say again, once a son is dead, he no longer has the ability to inherit his mother from the grave. So we'll say, the Gemara goes weiter. Hahu the Amrle lechavre. Nichsei devar sisin mazbin lecha. Well, you know what? Actually, I'm gonna stop over here. I'm gonna stop over here for it. I'm gonna share with you a short idea on the parsha. It's a short daf. It's a short, it's a short daf tomorrow. So we'll pick up Emirat Hashem with this nechase bar sisin Emirat Hashem tomorrow, and we'll finish the parak Emirat Hashem tomorrow. But I'll share with you a short idea on the parsha. So I'll say, so this is Parshas Chukas. So the Torah, of course, discusses the incredibly profound, difficult to comprehend concept of para aduma. Right? The idea that if a person goes ahead and contracts ritual impurity by coming in contact with a corpse, so the Torah goes ahead and lays out the complicated process through which you take a red heifer, you go ahead and you burn it, take the ashes, mix it with mayim chaim. That's not the Hamish of brand of soda. I mean, like spring water, right? And you go ahead and you create a concoction that is ultimately sprinkled on the individual who is telling. It's just an amazing thing. You could go today on Har HaZeisim, you can actually go to the spot where they went ahead and they did the paraduma. You know this because the Mishnayos discussed the idea that the paraduma was done opposite Har HaBayis, but it had to be done in a spot that you could see directly into the Har Habayis, directly into the Beis Hamikdash. So I forgot the exact name of it. There's a monastery, a former monastery. I don't think it's an active monastery now. Former monastery that's there on that spot, but they pretty much know the spot of where the Paradum was done. Quite amazing. So we'll say, so the Torah says the following. This is in Perek Yutes, Halacha Yutes. So Yutes, 1919. Pasuk says, V'hiza hatahar ala tami b'yom hashlishi b'yom hashvi. So the tahar, the person who is tahar, person who sprinkles, who is the Kohen, will go ahead and sprinkle on the tummy, the person who is ritually impure, on the third day, on the seventh day. And we'll say what happens. Ultimately, again, he goes to the mikvah on day number 7, and he becomes. So we'll say, the Lubliner Rav, Ramesh Pierre Lublin, so quotes an amazing Yerushalmi, without going into all the depth of the Yerushalmi, but the Yerushalmi says, Rabbi Yeshua ben Kipsa. Rabbi Yeshua ben Kipsa said the following: Kol yomai hayisi kores hapasak hazeh, v'hiza hatar ala tameh. So we'll say, just without getting into the technicalities, the Mefarshim also point this out. The Torah doesn't need to say v'hiza hatar ala tameh. That phrase itself is extraneous. I don't need that because contextually I understand what's happening over here. All you need to say is v'hiza b'yom hashlishi u'b'yom hashvi. He will sprinkle on the third day and the seventh day. So Rabbi Yeshua ben Kipsa says, all the years that I used to read this pasuk, v'hiza hatar ala tameh, I always assumed tahar echad mazeh al tameh echad. That one tahar, right, that the process is one person who's tahar could go ahead and sprinkle on one person who's tameh. Until one time I learned in the yeshiva of Yavne, literally the storehouse, the repository of Torah in Yavne, and I learned they made a drasha, shetahor echad mazeh. The Rebbe said that in fact the halacha is the way the Gemara. It's an interesting limud. Not far. It's again you can look it up. It's Yerushalmi Meseches Demai Perek Gimel Halacha Daled, where this drasha is found. But the drasha Rebbe came out that said that even one tahor. Even one tar could be mazeh al kamatmei. Even one tar could be mazeh, could ultimately again could sprinkle on a number of different people who are ritually impaired. I will say that just you should understand from a halachic perspective, that is a novelty. Why is it a novelty? Because, for example, remember from Sota, the halacha is in mashkin kama sotas ka'achos. You can't go ahead and conduct multiple Sota processes at once. Why? One simple reason: in osim mitzvos. Chavilos. In general, again, I will say mitzvos get individualized attention. We don't do mitzvos, you don't bundle mitzvos. Yet, interestingly enough, over here by Paraduma, so Yerushalmi Paskins, the halacha l'maisa, one tahor could be mazeh al kamatmei. One tahor could be mazeh, ultimately, again, could sprinkle on multiple people who are tamei at once, and it's kosher. So the Lubliner Rav says something absolutely amazing. The Lubliner Rav says, listen to these words. B'tchila hayachoshev shekidei lehiskaber al kochos hatuma sarich adam laharbe kochos tara. So we'll say, Rabbi Rav says that in the beginning, I used to think that in order to go ahead and overcome the kochos hatuma, in order to be able to overcome ultimately the kochos, the forces of impurity, in order to create real tara in life, you have to expend an incredible amount of energy. At least again, the chalapachos ke'osamida sheyeshna b'tuma. So we'll say the Lubliner Rav says, in the beginning, I thought that in order to go ahead and drive away the tumah, you need someone v'hiza hatar ala tameh. At least, so in life, we all struggle with tumah. In life, we all struggle with impurity. So sometimes we'll say that impurity is because of things that we do, of behaviors we engage in, of mistakes that we make. Sometimes the tumah is not even because of what I'm doing actively, but because of the atmosphere in which I allow myself to be in, the exposures that I have. So the Lubliner Rav says that Rabbi Yeshua ben Kipsa was teaching us. In the beginning, I thought that in order to drive away tumah, it's almost like a proportional ratio. V'hiza hatar ala tameh. I'm facing my tumah. I want to become a tahor, so I have to expend at least as much tara energy in order to drive away the tumah. So if the tumah is X, I need at least X amount of tara in order to be able to drive away that tumah. He says, Aval yeshivas Yavne Laman. But says Yerushalmi Kipsa, when I was in the yeshiva of Yavne, I learned something amazing. Shadayo tahar echad letaher harbe tameim. That's not true. One person who's tahar could be metaher many people who are tameim, which teaches me what the Rebbe saying. Kishem shener echad docha harbe min hachoshech. The same way Rebbe was saying that one little spark of light could dispel an incredible amount of darkness. Kach ma'at min ha'emes docha harbe min hachoshech. So to say, just a little bit of light could go ahead and dispel an incredible amount of darkness. You know, Rebbe hear the drasha. Rosh Kipsa says, I always thought that growth in life was always about proportions. That whatever amount of tumah I've allowed myself to be mired in, I have to generate a proportional amount of tara to get out of that pit of tumah. But then I was in yeshiva in Yavne, and I learned something dramatically amazing, which was what? That one tahor person could sprinkle upon a number of different tameim. And what did I learn from that? Rabbi was saying a proportional amount of tara to extricate myself from the tumah. Rather, all I need is what? One little sprinkling. I will say spiritual success in life does not require me to become a tzaddik. Spiritual success in life does not require me to generate the same amount of tara in order to offset the tumah. Rather, it will say the path to righteousness is paved with what? With one sprinkling, one droplet of tara, of purity. All I need to do in life is get started somewhere. All I need to do in life is just propel myself forward in some small way. The same way that one tahor person could sprinkle on a whole bunch of tameim. I will say that becomes the metaphor for life. I don't need to generate a huge amount of tara to change my life. All I need to do is start somewhere. All I need is one little droplet of that mayim chayim. All I need is one little droplet of that kara aduma. All I need is one little mitzvot, one little spark, one little candle to dispel so much darkness. Because sometimes in life, we don't make the necessary changes because often what we do is, I look at what I have to change. And when I look at what I have to change, that is a very tall order. That's a very tall order. And so I say to myself, you know what? I can't affect that level of change right now. So if I can't affect that unit, that chefts of change, then there's no point in trying. I will say it's not true. I don't have to affect that chefts of change. You know what chefts? You know what amount of change? You know what unit of change I have to affect? Just a spark, just a droplet of water. Because never underestimate the spark of a Jew. Never underestimate the droplet of water. Never underestimate one little bit of ruchnius. Never underestimate, I will say, what one little action could do. The same way that one little candle could dispel so much darkness, I will say. One little unit of forward spiritual momentum, spiritual growth, has so many unintended positive and beautiful ripple effects. I will say it's important for us to return. It's almost Elul. It's almost Elul, right? It's almost Rosh Hashanah. Again, say for the Jew, this type of year is exceptionally difficult, and I'll tell you why. Because the Welt tells us that it's time to start relaxing, right? It's summer, enjoy, and we should go on vacation, right? Should enjoy. I will say, but there's got to be a piece of me that says, okay, it's also time to start getting ready. We can't wait for Elul to get ready for Elul, right? You have to get ready for Elul and Tammuz. Truth is, we're already late. We should have been getting ready for Elul already in, last Tishrei, right? But at the end, okay, at least Tammuz. We'll say, and these are the beautiful things that if we internalize now, we could come into an Elul, we could come into a Rosh Hashanah, we come into a Menorah, we come into tomorrow, such dramatically different people. Incredible change doesn't start with dramatic change. Dramatic change starts with a droplet of water. Starts with a spark of light. We should be zocher avosai, to never be afraid to move ourselves forward because the change that we need to affect is too great. Let's find the koach to find the spark, find the koach to find the droplet of water, find the koach to vihiza tar alatame, and Emir Tashem watch the beautiful ripple effects that will unfold around us.